Hello and welcome to the first ever Rant Rave review. First things first, the quality on this is probably going to be really awful because I'm in the middle of moving. It's going to be very echoey. There's not enough furniture in here. My light might be a little wonky and the footage might be grainy because I tried recording on my phone and I've used so much memory that it almost died when I tried to put a video on there. So I'm using my old computer. So hopefully it looks lovely. This is just going to be, and from henceforth they will just be a point a camera at my face and I rattle on about books. The good old booktubing like you do. However, the caveat is this. I only have strong feelings. I have no middle of the road feelings. If there's a book that's kind of I don't think it's worth talking about, so I will either rant about books that I absolutely hate or rave about books that I absolutely love. I'll also do movies and video games and such later. But to start off with, we will do a rave, times two raves, about two true crime books I read last year and I absolutely loved. The first is Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann. The Osage Murders and the Birth of the FBI. You've probably heard of this if you're into true crime. It's pretty famous. It's really, really good. It's one of those things where I could not believe that I had never heard of this before. I'm kind of horrified that I haven't, and shocked that I haven't. It seems like it should be famous. And I'm not exactly sure if it's because we kind of just sweep a lot of stuff about Native Americans under the rug, or if people... I've been reading a lot of books about the 20s lately, and I'm like, I feel like this time period, we only know like bits and pieces, but there's so much more cool stuff that should be famous. So, the book itself. The premise is basically, like the federal government did, they were like, hey, tribal, Indians, time to move you from here to here to here, sucks to be you. And so, someone in the tribe was like, whoa, 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 okay, we'll move, but we get, we'll stay on this reservation, but we get rights to everything under the soil. I'm assuming they were thinking at the time minerals, but as it turned out, in the 1920s, they struck black gold and became filthy stinking rich with oil. Insanely rich. Wealthy, snazzy cars and the whole, roaring 20s, all of that. The Osage tribe. And then people started getting sick in the tribe. And people started getting shot and being poisoned. And two people got blown up in their own house. And you're like, what is going on? Who is killing these people? And the FBI was like, we have to, go in there and see. Because the entire tribe, because of, racism, they're like, oh, the federal government said, oh, you can't be in charge of your own money. You need to have, guardians. And so basically, the entire tribe is basically a ward of the state, more or less. So it looks really bad if you have all these people, being murdered. So the FBI was like, we have to, go in there and, stop it. And again, the FBI, legitimately cared. They're like, this is not okay. So, so it's cool because of just the actual thing that happened is really interesting. The way that Gran, he also wrote Lost City of Z, which I haven't read. He also wrote The Devil and Sherlock Holmes, which is a bunch of essays, some of which I've read. He's a pretty good writer. He does it in 3 parts. The first part is focusing on this one woman in the tribe who, most of her family was murdered. It was horrible. Her perspective. The second part is once they figure out, the mastermind, who's basically a real-life Moriarty. If you wrote this into, fiction, you wouldn't necessarily, buy it. You'd be like, that's too far-fetched. But no. The trial. They figure out who it is. They put it in trial. What happens? I can't tell you. That's spoilers. I will say the one problem with this book, however, was that it was really easy to figure out who the mastermind was. And you might say, well, that's just real life. But the way he wrote it, I was like, if I was writing a book, this is how I would describe the guy who would turn out to be the killer. It was really obvious. And yeah, I do blame David Grann for that. And the third part of the book is, so, this is what happened in the past. This is what happened at the trial. And then David Grann's like, okay, but, that doesn't answer all of the questions about who killed who. There's some very big holes if you only take that part of the story. So we actually went to Oklahoma, where it all occurred, and he interviewed people whose, grandfathers and great-grandfathers had been murdered, and kind of tried to piece together, what happened. And it's, way worse than even what like it seemed at the time. So it's really interesting. You should read it if you're into true crime, if you're into history, if you're into Native American, like anything. Basically, like if this had been happening to white people, it wouldn't have been allowed to happen. Like straight up fact, like racism is what caused this in like a really horrible way. Like not just like, oh, we can kill Indian people, but like horrible, like the federal government kind of like caused it because of their horrible laws, like boneheaded laws that just allow this to happen. But it's really interesting, and you should read it, and I can't tell you all the things, but yeah. The second book, I don't have a copy with me, but it's by David King. It is called Death in the City of Light, the Serial Killer of Nazi-Occupied Paris. And it's so good, and it's, again, I can't believe I had never heard of this guy. This person, this killer, should be at least as famous as, like, Charles Manson or Ted Bundy. Like, I don't know why I've never heard of him before. I don't actually remember his name. I listened to it in an audiobook, which is actually the only reason I could even, like, try to remember what the French names were, but I actually don't remember what the French names were. But, c'est la vie. It's so good, and, like, it's one of those things that there's, like, several different pieces of history going on, and, like, they're woven together in an awesome way. Side note, side rant. A lot of people in the writing community act like prologues are stupid and you shouldn't use prologues and you should just start the story in prologues. Let me tell you the prologue of this book. It's Nazi-occupied Paris. There's like a little house on the street that people think is like, they know that it's not like abandoned or anything, but the guy's not in there, so that they sort of think, and yet the chimney is like, there's smoke coming out of the chimney. So they call the fire brigade, and they say, hey, we think this might be dangerous. You probably left the fire going. Can you call the guy? And so they call ring-a-ding-ding. Hey, you left your fireplace going. And the guy's like, oh, holy cow. Oh, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Don't go inside. Okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Don't go inside. So they wait. And they wait. It's like half an hour, and they're like, we need to go inside. Like, this, like, the house could burn down. So they go inside, and it's kind of like half hoarder house, half, like, art museum / antique shop. Like, the guy's clearly got, like, good taste, but it's kind of weird, like, weird. They go to the kitchen. It's not in the kitchen. So they go down to the cellar, and it's a boiler burning in the cellar, and they open it, and there's, like, 2 human skulls in the boiler, and they're like, holy cow. Oh, and also a pile of bones. Like, multiple femurs, like, way more than for 2 people. So they rush out of the house, they call the police, and they're like, oh, you need to get here now. While they're waiting for the police to show up, this guy rides up on a bicycle. And he says, oh my goodness, like, you didn't go inside, did you? And they're like, yeah, we did. And he's like, you didn't call the police, did you? And they're like, yeah, we did. And he's like, I'm the brother of the man who owns this house. And he's in the resistance. And those are, like, Nazi bodies that are burning. And they're like, oh no, like, what have we done? We, like, of course we want to help the resistance. And he's like, okay, like, just give me a head start so I can tell, like, my brother, and bicycles away. He's obviously the killer. And so they're waiting around, like, freaking out, like, what have we done? The detectives show up, and they're like, okay, we have, like, 2 skulls here and a bunch of bones, and they go, and they see this, like, weird room with, like, they go inside, and it's got, like, 3 walls and, like, a false door, like, handle that doesn't work, and, like, and if you, like, peel back the wallpaper, there's an eye hole, and they're like, why is there, like, a room that you can look into with, like, a weird false door, and no handle on the, like, other side of the door, like, you can't actually get out of this room. Okay, and they keep looking around, and they, there's, like, a pit in the ground, and they open it, and it's full of bodies, like, full of bodies. That's the prologue. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's the prologue of the book? Holy cow. So the whole thing is, this guy, you're like, is he a member of the resistance, or isn't he? Like, these people are clearly not Nazis, they're, like, men and women, and maybe, yeah, it's crazy. And, like, and the book goes back into, like, all these rumors about, like, how this guy, like, grew up and whether or not he's a sociopath. Like, is he, isn't he? We don't know. And it, like, weaves together that. It weaves together the whole fact that, like, the Nazis were like, hey, deal with this. Yeah, hurry up, police. And the police were like, okay. Meanwhile, the guy's claiming to be resistance, and then people don't trust the police because some of the police are working with Nazis. And it's like, what the heck is going on? And it's so cool. And again, it's one of those things where, like, if the occupation hadn't been happening, he couldn't have been killing people the way he was. Like, it's really creepy and really cool. And I highly recommend it to anyone who's into interested in history or true crime or World War II or like crazy stories, like crazy, like you would not be able to write this and people would have, like, if it didn't actually happen, you'd think it was nonsense. So I hope that made sense. I hope I didn't talk too fast. I hope it's not too echoey. But that was my first rave review of some really cool true crime. Highly recommend them. I love them. I love true crime. This whole shelf is true crime. So yeah, good luck. Hopefully you stay tuned. These are going to happen every other week. And then the weeks I don't do a rant or a rave, I'll do like a blog on my main site. So stay tuned for recommendations, for rants, of things that I hate. So yeah, see you then.